Hi, I'm Marti Gould Cummings, sitting with Bianca Del Rio from season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Hi, Bianca.
Hi.
How are you? Also known as Roy Haylock from
me.
New Orleans.
That's me.
So you are the big star of season 6, in my mind.
Well, because you know me and I paid you. It's an interesting process. You know, for me, when I started drag, there was no Twitter, there was no Instagram, there was no internet. It wasn't like that. So it's kind of funny now that everything is kind of magnified to the extent that it is, because I'm still doing exactly the same thing I've done for 18 years, but it's just kind of like on a larger scale now.
When did you? So you said you've been doing drag for 18 years.
18 years.
How did that come to fruition?
Prior to that, I'd done wigs and makeup and costumes for theater, and there was a show called Pageant that they were doing in New Orleans.
They just did it here at
locally. It's great. It's a very funny show, and I was already doing costumes and wigs for the show. And there was a small part at the end of the returning queen or whatever. And while I was there, they'd asked me if I'd be interested in playing the role, and I said sure. You know, kind of like everything in my life. Sure, I'll try. Sure, whatever. Yeah. And then some people from the local bar in New Orleans saw it, and then asked me if I wanted to do a guest spot at the bar. So then I started doing guest spots with lip syncing and stuff. And then there was a host that was out one week, and so they asked me to host, and so then I hosted, and then I started working there 5 days a week for 10 years.
Oh wow.
So then I moved here.
You're very known for being a shocking comedian, like a Lisa Lampanelli kind of style. Have you always had that sense of humor?
Yeah, I mean, I always say this, and I've probably said it a million times recently, is that if you don't wear a wig, they call you, a nasty, hateful queen. But if you wear a wig, they call it hysterical. So it's kind of like the packaging to get away with murder. So I still have the same thought process, but to me it's not that shocking. It's just I'm thinking it, so I just say it.
So you do a show with Lady Bunny, who's
amazing,
legendary. She's Lady Bunny. She's everything. What has that experience been like?
It was very funny. I met her when I was 20 in New Orleans, and I was hosting a drag show there. And at the time I was doing Cher in the show, and she came to me and she says, "Girl, I know that you do that Cher thing, but other people are gonna do it better. I think you're funny, and you need to be a host and find your look and do your thing." And I thought it was great advice. So then years later, we're working together in a hot mess, and I'm backstage. And I said, buddy, I was just thinking about the story. This is forever ago. It's like, now, 18 years later. And I said, I'm telling her the story. And she goes, I said that. She goes, but hey, what I really told you to do was to get hit by a car and die. So, that's funny. But I do love her, though, because she's extremely sick sense of humor, and she gets it.
You were very well known before Drag Race ever came along. So how has your career changed since Drag Race?
Oh well, it's just you're just on this larger platform, which is absolutely insane. You're traveling a lot, and for me, because of the fact that I've been able to work for such a long time, I'm grateful. This is just an amazing opportunity. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, are you so tired?" I'm like, "No, I'm grateful." To get to travel and do what I do normally is amazing, and get to see these people that didn't know I existed 6 months ago.
If you had like one really strong thing to say to a new queen or somebody who's thinking about doing drag or wants to do this, what is your main advice for them?
I think that to view and to look at millions of people, but also realize that if you see something, which I think is a big problem that a lot of queens do, they see something working for someone else and they think, oh, that's success, so let me do that. And then they do a sad attempt at it. The trick is, everybody's an original, everybody can do something, whatever, that's your thing, and it takes a minute to find your thing. So it's just finding what your passion is and not thinking that, oh, I need to do that because someone else is doing it. But also realize that people are going to compare, everybody's got an opinion, everybody thinks they know more than you. But it really is a little journey for yourself. I mean, if from when I started to now, it's completely different. As far as aesthetic, look, the business aspect was always there, but that's the only thing you can really control. Looks are going to change. You're going to look back at pictures and go, "What the fuck was I thinking?" But that's part of the process.
Yeah.
But I think it's just finding what works for you.
Sure. To get a Bianca Del Rio t-shirt, go to her website. We'll have a link posted below. Follow her on Instagram and Twitter. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Marti Gould Cummings, and see you next time.